Hello, and welcome to MarketSquare, your go-to show for deep insight into business and economic trends. I'm Olaitan Adebayo, and today we're diving into key developments across Nigeria. Stay with us as we break it all down. Welcome back to MarketSquare. Nigeria's flood crisis continues to expose deep cracks in the country's food and economic system. This week, the federal government announced a 6.3 billion naira intervention and interest-free loan scheme targeting 21,000 Nigerians affected by the flood disasters. Each beneficiary is expected to receive about 300,000 naira to help rebuild their livelihoods. The initiative, announced by the Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, is part of efforts to reduce the impact of flooding on food production and community resilience. It also aligns with the broader agenda of the current administration, which emphasizes social welfare, poverty reduction, and disaster recovery. The intervention raises important questions. Can short term cash reliefs truly tackle the deeper issues driving flood vulnerability and food insecurity? So far, the government says it has reached over 8.1 million households through its conditional cash transfer scheme, disbursing more than 300 billion naira. These measures may offer temporary relief, but what's really needed is stronger investment in flood prevention, infrastructure, better drainage, irrigation system, and early warning networks. The Humanitarian Affairs Ministry is also partnering with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to involve internally displaced persons in farming programs. Under the plan, displaced farmers will keep 30% of their produce while the government will purchase the remaining 70%. It's a creative approach, but the big question is sustainability. How long can such program be maintained without addressing the root causes of displacement? The Director General of NEMA, Zubaida Umar, noted that disasters in Nigeria are becoming more frequent and severe, driven by climate change, poor urban planning, and weak environmental management. She announced two new policy frameworks, the NEMA Strategic Plan 2025 to 2029 and the National Disaster Risk Reduction Strategy 2025 to 2030, both aimed at shifting Nigerians' response from reactive to preventive. These frameworks, if properly implemented, could help the country move from emergency relief to resilience, building a long overdue step in national planning. But the real test will be funding and coordination. The DG highlighted the need for innovative financing tools such as catastrophe bonds, insurance pools, and climate funds, instruments that are still largely untapped in Nigeria. In essence, while the 6.3 billion naira loan initiative is commendable to ease immediate pain, the long-term solution lies in strengthening infrastructure, improving planning, and financing disaster risk reduction. Without this, Nigeria may continue to spend billions each year repairing damage that could have been prevented. While the government rolls out these relief measures, many Nigerians continue to grapple with broader impact of ongoing economic reforms. Nigeria's economy is said to be on a recovery path. According to the World Bank report titled From Policy to People, Bringing the Reform Gains Home, Nigeria's economy grew by 3.9% in the first half of 2025, up from 3.5% last year. Growth came from services, agriculture, and improvement in oil production. Foreign reserves have climbed above $42 billion and public debt has fallen for the first time in over a decade. On paper, this sounds good, but in reality, the benefits are yet to reach most households. Many Nigerians are still battling high food prices. The cost of a basic meal has increased fivefold since 2019, and low-income families now spend about 70% of their earnings on food. So even when the economy grows, it doesn't feel like growth to them. The World Bank notes that while reforms like the removal of fuel subsidies, naira flows, and tighter monetary policy were necessary, they have yet to make life easier for citizens. It stresses that microeconomic stability alone does not feed families. The real measures of success is how much this policy improves living conditions. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry shares this concern. Its Director General, Dr. Chinyere Almona, said the pace of reform is too slow to reduce poverty or drive structural change. She urged the government to move faster by investing in agriculture, rural infrastructure, and access to credits for farmers. According to her, this is key to bringing down food inflation and strengthening the naira. The chamber also raised concerns over the high cost of electricity and fuel, which has crippled industries and small businesses across the country. Many factories now operate below capacity, while small businesses owners rely heavily on generators, cutting deep into profits. The group called for urgent actions to boost energy generation, accelerate power sector reforms, and promote renewable energy to make power more affordable and reliable. It also advised the government to cut waste, improve security, and support local producers to stay competitive. Meanwhile, on the streets, many Nigerians say they just want relief. A trader in Lagos says that customers buy less because prices keep rising. A baker in Ibadan says the cost of gas and flour has gone up again, forcing him to raise bread prices weekly. A tailor in Abuja says she spends more on fuel and light than on materials. For people like them, reforms feel distant, something discussed at the top but not yet felt at the bottom. The World Bank's outlook remains cautiously optimistic, projecting growth to rise to 4.4% by 2027. But as the Lagos Chamber notes, until the economy starts working for people, not just the paid numbers, Nigerians' recovery will remain more on paper than in the lives of its citizens. Still amid these challenges, some sectors are beginning to show signs of internal growth. Nigeria's manufacturing sector is quietly undergoing a transformation. The change is driven by the backward integration policy, first introduced under President Olusegun Obasanjo. The idea was simple yet strategic, encouraging manufacturers to source or produce their raw materials locally rather than rely on imports. The goal is to conserve foreign exchange, reduce the impacts of currency fluctuations, and build stronger, more resilient supply chains. Today, that policy has found renewed relevance, with the naira under intense pressure, import costs rising, and global supply chains facing disruptions. Local sourcing has become not just an economic choice, but a survival strategy. Manufacturers that embrace backward integration early are now reaping the rewards, expanding operation, improving revenue, and cutting dependence on imported inputs. It's no longer just policy rhetoric, it's shaping how factories operate and compete across the country. However, the road is far from smooth. Many manufacturers continue to battle poor infrastructure, unreliable power supply, high transportation costs, and difficulty in accessing credit. Even where raw materials are available locally, challenges in logistics and inconsistent product quality often make production costly and slow. These barriers continue to eat into profit margins and test the resolve of business owners. But for firms that have managed to overcome these obstacles, backward integration has brought much more needed stability. By producing raw materials domestically, they are less vulnerable to exchange rates and import delays. That resilience is proving vital in the current economic climate, helping companies to plan better and maintain consistent output. Beyond the factories, the ripple effect reach deep into local communities. Increased demand for raw materials boosts agricultural production, processing, storage, and transport, creating jobs and stimulating rural communities. For consumers, this can translate to more stable prices, fewer shortages, and easier access to locally made goods. When cost savings are passed down the chain, households also benefit. Yet, the transition remains uneven. Some industries and regions are adapting faster than others, while many still struggle to meet quality standards or fund local expansion. Without sustained government support through infrastructure development, energy reform, and consistent incentives, backward integration could remain an unfinished ambition. The backward integration policy represents more than just a manufacturing strategy. It's a pathway towards national self-reliance and inclusive growth. If Nigeria can strengthen collaboration between governments, farmers, and manufacturers, the policy could unlock deeper value creation across the economy and solidify Nigerians' journey towards sustainable industrialization. Even as industries adapt, another concern is emerging, this time from the job market. There's a growing concern about the future of young workers around the world as entry-level job openings have dropped by 29% globally. Automation, artificial intelligence, and changing business models are reducing the number of traditional career starting points. The World Economic Forum recently reported that entry-level roles are shrinking across major economies, revealing a gap between what schools teach and what employers need. Here in Nigeria, where youth unemployment remains high, human resources experts say the impact could be deeper if nothing changes soon. In today's job market, employers are no longer looking only for certificates. They want people who can think critically, solve problems, and adapt quickly. The future of work will be shaped by technology, and those who understand how to use it effectively will have the advantage. This makes skill-based training far more important than just academic qualifications. But for many young Nigerians, the transition has been difficult. The education system still focuses heavily on theory, leaving graduates with limited practical or digital skills. Employers, on the other hand, often want workers who can perform immediately without much training. This mismatch between education and job requirements has widened the entry gap, especially for those just starting their careers. Graduate training programs, once a pathway for gaining experience, have also become fewer and more competitive. As a result, many young people now face a tough choice of waiting for formal employment or creating their own opportunities. Despite these challenges, a growing number of young Nigerians are adapting by learning new skills, freelancing, or venturing into small businesses. This shift is gradually defining what work means, from waiting for jobs to creating value independently. It also reflects a generation that is becoming more resilient and entrepreneurial. Even in the face of economic uncertainty, long-term solutions require more than individual efforts. Nigerians need a new model for workforce development, one that connects schools and industry and government in preparing young people for the realities of today's economy. Structured mentorship schemes and reskilling programs are crucial to bridge the gap between education and employment. The ongoing decline in entry level role is not just a labor issue, it's a reflection of how the economic values human capital. For Nigeria to grow, it must move beyond seeing employment as a number and start investing in creativity, leadership, and innovation among its youth. Because in the end, the future of work won't be defined by machines or technology alone. It will depend on how well Nigeria invests in its people. Nigeria's economy continues to balance between recovery and reality, with flood victims set to get relief loans, economic reforms biting harder, manufacturers pushing for local sourcing, and young people struggling to find entry-level jobs in a changing world of today. This is Market Square Malai Adebayo. Thank you for staying with us. See you on the next one.